Hello.
Hello. How are you?
I am good. I just got a weird notification that said live stream, so hopefully this isn't being I feel like I'm having deja vu. Hopefully this
Right.
isn't live streaming somewhere mysterious.
Well, it will be impactful if it is.
Yeah.
I mean, we're
Oh,
going to
good.
keep it above board. But with technology these days, who knows what's happening and AI and anyway, that's a can of worms, but I'm sure we're fine.
Yes, I'm sure we're fine. So we were trying to figure out what to talk about today, and your recent LinkedIn post about metrics kind of got the gears in my brain going. And so we are going to talk about what you can measure. I'm trying to think how to word it. Benefits you get from influencer marketing outside of just raw numbers, and maybe getting in a little bit into what those numbers mean and what constitutes success when it comes to influencer marketing. And I think so much to the point of your LinkedIn post, there's so much focus placed on video views and engagements and clicks, but there's a lot more that we can look at here. And so that's what we're going to dive into
Yeah,
today.
absolutely. And I want to sort of throw out a callback. Do you remember 10, 12 years ago when the discussion we were deeply in this discussion of vanity metrics?
Yes.
Or it's the same metrics. Like we're still sort of
Do
that's
you
what we're
think?
talking about.
I feel like there's been significant improvement because when I think about, maybe we're thinking about something
Mm.
different, or maybe we're going to actually disagree for once. To me, the vanity metrics were like we were doing programs. I feel like Twitter was like a really big
Mm.
piece of this,
Channel.
and we had agencies and brands asking us for impressions, and there was this big conversation around potential impressions versus actual impressions.
Right.
And so, I mean, to me, that was a vanity metric
Mm.
when because it was totally fake. Like you could look at someone's following on Twitter and make this completely cockamamie crazy assumption that everyone
Right.
who was following someone was seeing every single tweet that they were putting out there. And so that was potential impressions.
Right.
And we were seeing some agencies that we were working with at the time not including that word potential and just calling it impressions, which makes it seem real.
Right.
And it was a big, like, I just remember having all of these debates internally, and it was a really big deal when we made the decision to stop
Mm.
saying just impressions, to start saying potential impressions, and then eventually we moved to actual impressions.
Mhm.
And we made it very clear to our clients that we're not going to play in this potential phony fake vanity metric world.
Right. And yes, and I'm also thinking about back in our beginning years working with food bloggers and the realization where it was page views back then on a blog
Right.
and monthly page views and
Unique visitors.
unique, that's right, unique and having the conversation with clients that when you saw that monthly page view, it might be 3 posts that are doing it for that person, right? Like their grilled chicken wings or their how to make a pot roast.
Exactly. Like it could be the how to make a pot roast blog post that they put up 3 years ago that is killing it on Google. And
Right.
anytime
It's
anyone searches
ranking.
pot roast, that's the recipe that comes
Right.
up. Like the percentage of those page views that actually mean something for their sponsored post about
Right.
mac and cheese,
Right,
it's
and you and I were probably
infinitesimal.
deep in the strategizing around how do we tap those posts that are already outperforming and don't alter them because you can't change anything about them or you get kicked off of the algorithm,
No, but you can. We
you
used to
lose
do that.
ranking.
We used to sell that. We called it, I'm trying to remember what we called it, but we would, if someone had an unbranded
Mm.
food post, so let's say their how to make pot roast
Mhm.
was doing incredibly well and generating and like just already had that Google juice and was doing awesome. And then we got approached by French's onion soup mix. And the post that was killing it was just called for generic onion soup mix.
Right.
And so we would pay that influencer to go back in, update that recipe to add the word French's,
Okay.
and it would still perform. It didn't impact its performance.
Do
And
you
we
think
would
that's
sell
still the
that
case?
sometimes.
Because I just know friends who are still in that world who would never. They're like, no, what they would do is put a pop-up over that post that comes up and says,
Interesting.
if you like this, blah, blah, blah.
I mean, Google changes their
Yeah.
rules all the time, and we have
Right.
not done a blog post program in well over a year.
Okay, but let me pause and just say, we're already in the mix of where influencer marketing in your hands or my hands excels is that we are constantly looking at these variables. And even when we're saying it might be vanity metrics, that impression number for a blog, this is way back, rests in the hands of 3 posts. So how do we optimize those posts and go back in, brand them if we can brand them, or link out from them, et cetera, and create this, but I think we're starting to now take the lid off of where the depth is here versus we got your numbers. We're kind of putting a Band-Aid over it. We're taking potential out of the mix and just saying yes, everybody's going to read this magazine that's in the doctor's office. And so we're going to triple the
Right.
impressions rate. So already I think you've gotten us there to some extent of what
Well,
we
I
can be looking
think
for.
what's interesting, what always gets me is that social media is so measurable, so much more so than a lot of other media. Like the amount of granularity that you can get to when measuring a social media post is so much more specific and exact than what you'd get for a billboard or a TV
Or even a
commercial
magazine article.
or
Yeah.
anything,
How do you know?
anything, like you're
Yeah.
actually seeing it. And so I think there's this expectation that because you can measure it, there's a higher expectation on what it's going to accomplish, and I think there's less wiggle room from the clients, like what they accept from TV, the amount of money paid for TV advertising without being
With
able to
like a
actually
shrug.
without being
Yeah.
able to actually guarantee that those people are seeing it. Like
Hmm.
there's this like leap of faith that happens often with traditional media, and we don't have that luxury in social media because we do know exactly how many people are seeing it. We do know exactly how many people are clicking on it, saving it, sharing it. I mean, TV's starting to get there a little bit with QR
Oh,
codes, but
sure. Well, and I would say the other problem with traditional TV advertising is there's inherent in that ecosystem or best practices, there are make goods. So if your ad doesn't perform as well, or if it gets bumped because there's a breaking news or just whatever, like
over
there's this,
time or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
the station or the network will do a make good. And in the influencer world, they want to bring that over, not how this industry works. It's not like I keep calling it apples to automobiles, the whole influencer to paid programmatic. It's very different. So, but to your point, the fact that it's measurable, I think still makes it very dangerous because everybody is busy and wants to streamline and they want to get right to metrics that can prove their point and move on, and they're missing everything that's the iceberg. Like that's just the tip of the iceberg. So that's what I think that's what my post today was about. And maybe you can help me because I know you like my analogies or metaphors, but I was thinking about like when you go to the doctor's office, they take your vitals because they don't know what they are. They're taking your blood pressure, height, weight,
Right,
all of
right, right.
that to measure. When we talk about things like impressions, reach, engagement, which I think you and I are on the same page, you're kind of a master of this in terms of your guarantees and your campaigns. It's a pre-event strategy. You know what you're going to pay for. Like you know what you're going
We
to.
know we know a bare minimum.
Yeah. So what
So
is it measuring?
our best campaigns exceed that. You
Right.
can't predict virality. You could have a single
Right.
post that just absolutely kills it, and there's no way to guarantee what people. I'm trying to remember. It was like we did this program years and years and years and years ago, and we had an influencer. It was a blogger, and she created this recipe for Coca-Cola, and she made Coca-Cola cupcakes,
Okay.
and
Yep.
it got picked up by Parade magazine.
Yes.
You don't
Right.
know that that's going to happen.
Right. Absolutely.
Right. So that stuff.
But okay, but we often say what we do with the influencer campaign is rocket fuel for the rest of your marketing. So a smart agency or a smart team is integrating with the PR team, with the earned media, with the out of home, with the ad, like you're hopefully breaking down silos so that all of the influencer work can be, it's a little more predictable, not the virality of it, but who might pick it up, your relationship with journalists and whatnot. But my point is when you go in saying we're going to buy this, which is fine. I mean, I think it should be part of it. There's nothing to measure about that. What you want to then find out is why things go viral, like what's happening, I think there. And to
Right.
your point, I just saw, I follow, I think the founder of, now I'm getting Good Pop. Good Pop, it's like a frozen popsicle,
Okay.
organic, better for you. And he said, we just went viral based on a relationship with an influencer that we started a year ago, and him and his husband product a year ago. And I don't know the story of how they nurtured that relationship, but that is what you're that is some of the value here that we can't just push and make viral. It's about it's these like soft metrics, these intangible metrics, relationship building. But let me pause there and see if you agree with, or if we can like flesh out this analogy that when you're measuring something, it's because you want to know what happened, like that you didn't already put in place, right? Like if I'm baking a cake, I know the ingredients I'm putting into it.
Yeah.
I know the temperature, I know my altitude, all that. I know how it's going to come out. I'm not like, if things went horribly wrong, then I'd have to go back and
There are some
look at.
metrics we never guarantee. To me, the
Okay.
ones that we won't guarantee are the ones that are really interesting to look at the end of a
Yes.
campaign.
Okay.
So, for example, we don't guarantee sales because that doesn't happen like in our domain. So we'll guarantee a click, but your website could suck. It could go down.
Right.
Like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know.
The experience could not
I can't
match
control that.
what
So
you set up.
I will send you qualified clicks over and I will guarantee that all day long. But then, you hear from a client that they were doing no other marketing activations that month and
Yeah.
sales went up. And
Right.
so they can attribute it, or they were, we
Okay.
put in a tracking pixel, I probably not a pixel, but we use like the tracking link in the link that the influencer is sharing, and we can follow that through and see that like the apps were downloaded, the product was purchased. We're not going to guarantee it. If that happens, that's great.
Yeah.
I think
And
another less, this is not like as impactful to the bottom line perhaps, but I mean, you and I both have done a ton in the food space. One of our favorite metrics on a food campaign is saves. Because if
mhm.
you're sharing a recipe and you're putting it out there and people are saving it, that means that they plan to go back to it and make that recipe
100%.
at some point, and then they're going to see your brand name when they pull
Yep.
that recipe up
Yeah.
again. Shares is huge. We don't guarantee
Right.
shares, but I mean, there's
Hmm.
been all these articles recently about like how impactful DMs and shares are in the social media space. So, I mean, there's a ton that we call out in our wrap up report that
Right.
we don't talk about at the beginning of a
You
camp,
don't
that we're
set
not
KPIs
promising.
for
No,
them.
no, no, no,
Right.
no.
Right.
You can't, because that's all
Yep.
that stuff comes about from like this magical stuff that
But I
happens.
think that is the meat and potatoes actually of influencer marketing, that magic. And I'm going to take it even further to say that what we analyze for, not just at the end of the campaign, but we look at, and my post talks about this, 3 different areas that influencer campaigns deliver insight. And it is the creative. So how is the messaging working? How are the influencers that we've chosen? How effective are they? How impactful? So there's campaign creative. But then all the time, we get data about the team and operational, like you said, where are we landing? And is that page converting? That's not an influencer campaign creative piece. It's an operational or a brand systems piece. And that's the other, is the systems, the organization itself. Is there behind the scenes chaos around what the mission and mandate is that's impacting the effectiveness or coming through in our work with that brand from beginning to end that we can highlight. It's not a new term, but I'm thinking of it like black swan events. Like we always find there's the campaign performance, but then there's these layers of really impactful make or break results that come in that we need to share, we do share with our clients so that they can make the adjustments they need to make so that the influencer campaign, the next one, is even more successful. And it's not always creative, is what I mean. It's
Gotcha.
layered. Yeah.
Give me an example. I think I'm not like I kind of get it, but I don't know that I'm fully
Okay.
getting it.
Well, I think one of them that we've talked about, and it looks like a campaign, like funny thing that happens, is when the campaign strategy is set, the roadmap is created, the influencer avatars are dialed in, the consumers that you want to reach, we've got that target, the messaging is on, we're all systems go. And then somewhere in the rollout, in the content going live, some stakeholder inside the organization is like, oh, and we want sales.
Okay.
So now your campaign creative is the ladder is against the wrong tree. Like you haven't even set it up right. But further than that, there's a communication loop that's missing internally for that organization that is going to impact all of their marketing when you've got a process for creating a creative campaign that doesn't include a stakeholder voice that's going to come in and drop in grenades. So that's a systems or an operations piece that we work to identify or call out so that the campaign doesn't get blown up.
So you're kind of talking about influencer marketing being this um like kind of like having like this alert system to help showcase that there's a breakdown in communication. So it's not just about the results from the campaign and did it get this many video views. It's did this help highlight a communication issue within the
Right.
brand that once we fix is going to improve things
Yes.
tremendously.
And
That's
to your
like
point,
very macro and
like
like
we
kind of
don't look for that ahead of time, right? So that's not a KPI we're setting. It's just that we know after X number of years of doing this, there are always insights about beyond just the campaign, about the team, about the organization that do impact the campaign itself or do impact, like think about silos. Think about, we worked with a global, I want to keep this somewhat anonymous, a global entity that for the campaign, the influencer campaign, it was all performance metrics. It was impressions and numbers and, but as an organization, they are trying to solve a problem that is like global, worldwide. It will impact all of our lives. And the team that we were working with, we gave them lots of recommendations on how to impact that mandate that they couldn't even leverage because they weren't empowered to bring back insights to the bigger team and to the okay, you can get the impressions, but if all the impressions say we don't care about this advocacy issue or this population of people is not engaging with the content, that's a campaign result. But if you don't translate it up to your teams to say this has to change the organization and how we're approaching this issue. And that was, that's again, some brands want that level of insight and some are just like, I'm trying to avoid brands that just spend good money after bad to launch, abandon, and it doesn't have a connective thread to the
yeah.
bigger organizational mandates.
Yeah. Well, and we in our reports, I mean, I don't even think it even always has to be that big picture. Like it can be a small thing. Like we did a campaign for a kids snack and
Mhm.
it was just kind of show your kids, show your daily life, showcase the snack. Like it was kind of a very broad. We gave the influencers a lot of leeway to
Yeah.
use their own creativity. We had a post go viral on that campaign and it was the mom creating like a kid charcuterie board for it.
Yes.
I feel like I've talked to you about this
I love it.
before, but that's like
Yeah.
that's a super clever like what that shows me is that this audience that this brand is trying to reach loves hacks and
Right.
loves like that kind of like fun, like taking
Mm-hmm.
your daily drudgery of your kid life and
Right.
inserting a little bit of fun and
Mm-hmm.
whimsy in it, and like here's a little hack to get your kids to eat healthy stuff and make
Mm-hmm.
them feel fancy, and like
Yes.
that insight, the fact that that post went viral is awesome
Mm-hmm.
and helped our numbers tremendously. But I think the bigger impact of that is it showcased something about the audience for this
Yeah.
brand and gives them insights into how to shape their future, how to shape their brand content, how to shape
Yeah.
their advertising, how
Right.
to like
Yes.
what types of influencers to look for in the future, because this campaign was part of a launch at a retail store, and the client thought ahead of time that the big win was going to be the people who focused on what's available at this particular retail, like the people who just post about that store and
Mm-hmm.
what they have available.
Mm-hmm.
And those posts were not the winners
Right.
there.
Okay. And imagine if you just stop at, okay, we had this results. Here were our numbers. Boop, a little bit of an outlier there, but whatever. But if you look at why that's happening, and
Yeah.
then to your point, the retailers themselves could start offering charcuterie board classes, moms and kids, how to create, like, there's so many ways to tap into that earned
Yeah.
media, send that out to the parenting magazines about what's going on. So I want to dial this back into the overarching theme here. It's not that the numbers are bad or we shouldn't want high numbers. But for instance, I know that we both start with a curation process with the influencers that yields a lot of data. It's not just in the measurement phase, it's not just in the reporting after the
Right.
campaign. It's here are the kind of influencers that are applying for this. That's different than what we thought would, it would attract. Or here's it when we open up in an application, tell us why you'd be a good fit for this and what you'd want to do. You might see that charcuterie board idea and all these other ideas. So now you get to test against, okay, well, we'll see somebody's going to be doing this and somebody's going to be doing this. So that's again, it's not just at the end of the campaign reporting where
No, it's
value
we
can be
always
found.
tell we tell this happened so long ago, but we were doing a campaign for singing toothbrushes. You know those toothbrushes and you can like push a button and it plays a song that is the 2 minutes long so kids know how long to brush their teeth. And the target demographic was like a much younger kid who's just kind of learning how to brush. They were
Who
like
will still
very
obey
juvenile.
directions.
Yeah, but like a very young looking toothbrush. And we got an application from an we have influencers apply to be in our campaigns, and someone applied for it whose kid was like the client had said we want kids between let's say 4 and 6, so that's what we were looking for. And we had someone apply who had a 10-year-old who's autistic,
Right.
and she said he loves these singing toothbrushes and there's like such an audience out there, and this has been a total hack for
Yep.
us and for our
Yep.
family and has helped make this daily process a lot easier for us. And I know my kid is not in the age range that you're looking for, but I would really like the opportunity to showcase this product because it's so important in our family. And the content did great, of course.
Yes. Okay. So in this, we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago. It's creative as targeting, right? Now we're looking at, well, we thought we wanted this age and we're kind of prescribing it. But when evidence comes in or the creative ideas support looking outside of that demographic, I think that's the other piece is brands often come into influencer marketing campaigns if they're new to it or if their teams are maybe not super mature with their influencer campaign experience, thinking we're going to develop the strategy and then bring it to an agency like yours or mine, and we have to play dream killer because we're like, actually we know this doesn't work, or you're cutting yourself off from learning about it as it unfolds, which goes into the whole conversation we're having right now about anti-fragile brands. That Saral just put out a resource for that, or being nimble or planning for being flexible in the moment. So again, like if we get too focused in, we have to hit these certain metrics at the end, you're going to miss this richness of using creative as your targeting,
Right.
using your onboarding, your application process as your part of your targeting or part of your
I think
strategy.
there's something else I want to point out here because I wrote about it in my most recent newsletter. This kind of little trend that we're seeing at Sway Group, where we're getting these requests for these very large scale programs, and the clients who are messaging us, sometimes it comes in via a form on our website, sometimes it's just to info@swaygroup.com, and they don't want to meet with us. So like this
Oh, you're
to
right.
me, like everything we've like from day one, influencer marketing for it's been solution selling what we're doing, where you're meeting with the client, you're asking them what their needs are, you're hearing about their challenges, and you're giving them a solution. It's not just a commodity like,
Right.
I want four cherries, please.
Yes.
Like it's
Right.
there's a whole solution. And we're I think because of this, the growth of platforms and people kind of treating influencer marketing like
Like an ad
Amazon
buy.
shopping or Zappos shopping, where you're like, okay, I need a high heel. It has to be black. I want it to be 2 inches tall. I want it to be patent leather. And like, then you just get this mix. So we're getting these requests for it and they don't want to talk and they don't want the strategy. These people are kind of, I mean, not to I'll toot our own horn. Like they're lucky they're coming to us because we're responding back, we're asking some questions. We actually still are putting strategy into their proposal. And if they go ahead and select us, even without letting us build a relationship with them, if our numbers happen to be the best numbers they get, because let's be real, they're just going to choose the cheapest option. So
Mm-hmm.
if we happen to get selected for these campaigns, they're also lucky because they're still going to get our report at the end, and we're not going to, just because they are not thinking about this kind of in a broader, more strategic way, we're still going to do our broad and strategic wrap
Right.
up report at the end and talk about which content performed best and why and what our recommendations are for next time. But I can't help but think like these brands that are using platforms and are just kind of running this like they're buying a bag of fruit at the produce store.
Right. Cookie cutter.
Like there's so much that's missing. It's
Yeah.
kind of
Right.
I mean, breaks my heart is a little bit dramatic, but it let's go with bums me out.
Yeah.
It bums me out because
Yeah.
I think it puts a bad name on the influencer marketing industry as a whole. And it makes it seem like this commodified thing. And you're just buying bulk influencers by the
Right.
pound.
Spray and
And
pray.
right, right. And there's just so much more room for art and nuance within it. And when it's treated, I mean, I love platforms and I love technology and we're doing some awesome things with AI now. And like I think technology can really help take some of the grunt work and busy work out of what we do. But for me, it's not just to make it cheaper and easier, it's to open up more time for this strategy and this thinking and the
Right.
insights and the solutions.
Right. Right. To re-slice the pie so that more attention can go to those pieces. And I think I agree with you that there's this epidemic of scale without strategy, that scale is the strategy. And I don't know that it's working. I was just thinking back because of all the events that are happening right now in the marketing world, all the glamorous, awards and whatnot. And I was thinking about the couple of years that I spent going to where I met you in person and how all of the presentations by brands that referenced influencer campaigns and work, by and large, all focused on the billions of views that they got and the massive numbers. And it occurs to me now, there wasn't a lot that they shared about their strategy to get there or what they're doing to go forward. And what do you do to build on that? And it is just scale is the strategy, volume
Yeah.
is the strategy.
Yeah.
And I'm going to advocate 100%. Even if you want to do that, you've still got to have a boots on the ground, canary in the coal mine, whatever it is, looking around corners for you. So that scale and that investment that you're making isn't, if it's even 1% off at the beginning, that's fine. But the more you invest in it, the more that 1% becomes a giant pebble in your shoe or catastrophic. We've seen bad decisions on the influencer front that have ripple impact across the whole industry. So seeing around corners ahead of time with the finesse and nuance that we provide with boutique agency level attention. And I'm not even trying to make a plug for boutique agencies. I'm really just trying to say, it bums me out too, that so much is being missed in the rush to measure the measurable versus get comfortable with the unknown unknowns that will impact you more
Well,
than reaching 10 million people.
yeah, I mean, we always say when we present our capabilities deck and we show our report and we talk about it, like the talk track that we always have is there's all the quantitative stuff and then we add qualitative. And that's
Yeah.
like I just
What are you paying for if
right,
not the
right.
qualitative?
You just you deserve it, brands.
Right. And it really, in the right hands, and will help our brand colleagues do this, it will help impact everything that you're doing. One of our stories, and I've told you this before, is going to market for a company, a probiotic. The messaging was around, this is a probiotic in functional foods. You can get it in all day parts, and it can be part of your normal snacking and menu every day. And that's convenience. And also it tastes good because it's in a meat stick or a granola bar. And the consumer response was around probiotics, I don't have to take another pill because pills are gross and yucky. That's a huge pivot in messaging that, again, can now play into, we don't have enough time for me to go over all the places that impacts for that organization and that
Yeah.
brand,
Yeah.
but it does.
We had the same thing. We work with a fitness supplement brand and they have a chewable creatine.
Okay.
And one of the best pieces of content on the last campaign we did was a woman, and she did this super funny video showing creatine powder spilling all over her car. She was trying to mix it up in one of those shakers with water, and like it exploded, and there was creatine powder everywhere. And then she just showed her, doing the little chew in her
Yeah.
car
Yeah.
instead, and how much easier, like so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely. There's again so much value beyond the numbers. Yes to the numbers. Yes, and let's do some
Yes.
improv here.
Yes.
Yes,
And
and because I think understanding what makes those numbers happen or viable is where the real gold, that magic, like you said, that magic of it happening and monitoring it as it happens is just, I think it's, that's why we're talking about it. We need to figure out a way to educate the industry and get people back to the pendulum, like in the middle a little bit, because it's gone so far this way from so far that way, so that the industry can really survive and thrive. If all this money is going to flow into it, it won't be long before people are, on to the next thing, or tired of results that they don't really understand or aren't really going any farther than the commoditized version of this. So I'm hoping that we're doing that good work.
well, we're going to keep talking about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
All right,
See you
great to
next
see
week.
you. See you then.